Hello, Coach Holmes here, and today we're going to be talking about cross sections of three-dimensional figures. And what I mean by that is that if you actually notice these blue, I guess you call them squares, that actually goes through the three-dimensional figure, those are cross sections. And it's almost like as if we would have cut a three-dimensional figure in a certain way, what would the shape be? What would it look like if we would have cut it in a certain way? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So we have 9 different examples, and we're just going to look through and just kind of figure out what it really looks like. So first off, give me 1 second. There we go. So looking at this first one, I have a cube. So obviously, you would think it's cut into a square. But notice how it's angled off a little bit. And so instead of a square, it's almost like a pretty long rectangle, okay? Because again, it's not cutting straight down, which by the way, this is a cube, which means all the sides are the same length. But because it's cut at an angle, it takes a little bit longer to cut through. So it's not necessarily a square, but the cross section is a rectangle. Now, looking at this right here, we got a rectangular prism. Now, this looks pretty simple enough because it's just cut, it's almost like it's cutting it in half evenly. So really the cross section is going to look something like that. Just one very narrow but long rectangle. And then we have this triangular pyramid. We have a triangular pyramid. The way it's cutting on the top half, like kind of above the base, of course. So really, it kind of looks like it would be more of a triangle cross section. Okay. Now looking at this right here, we have a triangular prism. I believe this is a right angle right there. Just based off of how it angles off and how it looks. Really what it looks like is this cross section is going to look more like a right triangle. Now, the next two are triangular. The next two are triangular prisms. But notice how the cross section goes through. This cross section is more rectangular, or at least notice how it kind of goes through like that. So really, my cross section is a rectangle shape. Okay, now this one's more vertical, where it kind of affects the triangle. So the cross section is kind of different. This is kind of more along this plane, this face right here in the bottom, and this is more parallel to the base. That's probably a better way to say it. This is kind of more parallel to this bottom face, while this cross section is more parallel to the triangular bases. So even with different direction, it can be the same shape, it could be the same figure, but the cross section can be different depending on how you cut it. Now looking at these last 3, I have a rectangular pyramid, and notice again, it's kind of taking off this way. So I have a rectangle for a cross section. Now this next one, I do have what it looks like a rectangular pyramid, but again, the cross section is kind of different. This time is more vertical than horizontal. But I would imagine it would look something like this in the same way. So it looks like the same cut. Excuse me. It looks like the same cut, but the big difference is the direction of the cross section. This one is more vertical, while this one is more horizontal. And lastly, not least, we have this little cross section. And of course, I imagine it being more of a square, maybe a rectangle, depending on if one side is just a little bit longer than the other. But those are my cross sections. So really what we're looking at is taking a three-dimensional figure like this and then cutting it a certain way. And if we do cut it, what shape is it making? That's what we're looking for. We're just trying to figure out what type of shape would it actually make. Thank you and have a good day.